C&K, what's up, man? Let's focus here. There we go. The camera I killed yesterday is back to life. I'll show you a quick desktop. Go to. So this is the. I pulled the wire right out of it. It got caught in the buffer. And then go back to this. I have this picture open. So it pulled the connector right out of the thing. So I had to crack open the webcam, and this connector was completely ripped off. So I had to figure out what wires went to what, and then I soldered them directly to the board. So anyway, that seemed to fix it. Whoop. So today I am going through and doing some sanding. So what I'm finding is so yesterday I was talking about planking and like different levels of the playfield. So when you coat it, like all of the imperfections in the wood, it just follows that contour, right? And so that includes dips in the cupped inserts, shooter lane grooves, whatever. It's just gonna follow that contour. So in the case of this, what I'm actually finding is the inserts are actually raised above, higher than what the playfield is. And so when you look at the light reflection, you can see, so where I sanded already, so go over the inserts, see the shiny ring around them? That's because I'm knocking down the high spots on, let me go over here, you can see it probably better in the middle. Right there. The shiny spots around the inserts. So that tells me, the sander tells all. It's, all these inserts are high. And so basically, in order to get it nice flat glass, that everybody likes to see, you have to knock everything down. Well, kind of, C&K. So essentially what happens, when Classic Playfields coats these, I'm sure maybe when it was first done, everything looked flat. But they only have so much time between the time that it's got its final coat of clear and then it cures, and it sits at Mark's house for however long, and it needs, like, that clear just settles out, and so you end up with your high and low spots. Well, you really just need to knock down all those high spots and get everything on the same level. And so basically what I need to do is, like I said before, I have to sand it anyway. Attack, what's up? Well, you can watch me sand a board with some art on it. It's super exciting, but it's a necessary thing. So if you want to get into restoring playfields, this is what you got to do. So in basically just kind of knocking down everything to the same level. I have to sand it anyway, because if you don't sand down the highs, And like even if I do end up clearing this, you want it to be as flat as possible, because once the next coat of clear that I would put on it, once that's cured, I don't want to have to really sand at all. I want it to be as flat as possible. So really all I'm going to do, you want it to be so you're using like a 2000 grit or something really, really fine, and you're just buffing out, you know, some of the smallest imperfections. That's what you're going for. Tech question: in your opinion, are there any good one component rattle can clear coats? So Attack, I'll get to your question too on clay bar. So yes. So this KBS diamond does come in a rattle can. I haven't used it yet because because I can control the thickness with this. And if I need to eyedropper it, which happens on older games all the time, if you have cupped inserts, I will eyedropper those and fill the insert first, and then I'll let that cure, and then I would kind of sand that, so that then you spend less time, you know, rollering, and like that's the trick to filling those in. But the other one I've heard, I haven't used it yet, is Spray Max, but that is actually, it's a two-part catalyst, just like automotive spray or automotive clear coats, except, you know, you got propellant in there, and so basically you break a bladder in the aerosol that releases the catalyst, and then it's basically an all in one shot. So the can is fairly expensive, but you don't have to deal with you know, cleaning out a spray gun and all that jazz. But if you've ever used aerosols before, you better hope that damn actuator doesn't get clogged up. Otherwise, you're gonna be swearing a lot. So let me catch up here. So yeah, I've used Spray Max 2K. Just wondering if there's a good alternative that require mixing. So yeah, the Diamond Clear does come in Von Craft. It does come in a spray can. It is water based and it's single stage. There's no hardener, but it does dry really fast. But it's not. It's gonna take days versus like 24 hours. So as opposed to like your Spray Max, which has a catalyst, that is a chemical hardener, and that's gonna set up a lot faster, and your time between spraying and wet sanding is a lot shorter with automotive type clears, two-part auto. Anyway, but I would say the KBS is maybe 3 days, I think. It wasn't very long, and then the longer you let it sit and cure, obviously the harder it gets. So what I did the last couple restorations I did with that is I let it sit for what was it? If I knew that I was gonna re-clear it again, I would go ahead and wet sand it within that 3-day period. But if I was getting close to the end, I would not wet sand it, I'd let it go longer so it would cure harder, because I knew if I was going to run a high-speed buffer on it, that generates heat, and the softer your clear is, the more easily it is scratched. And so you leave like these fine scratches in it. So you want, when you go to use a high-speed buffer on it, you really want that clear to be cured as much as it can be. And so C&K, I'll get back to your clay bar question. So the clay bar is really, it's a sandpaper putty, and like I was talking about yesterday, this is why I use a metal block that's flat. Clay bar is gonna form to the contours of your surface. So in this case, you see where I can see the flat or the inserts, and then around it it's shiny. That's telling me that this is a high spot, this is a low spot. And if you're using the clay bar, it's going to roll over those, and you're going to not even see that this is a low spot. And that's bad, because you want this thing to be super duper flat. So same thing with foam blocks. I know that there's foam blocks that you can wrap with sandpaper. And again, I'm not a fan of those for that exact same reason. So I think for certain applications, clay bar and foam blocks will be fine. Like, for example, if you're doing like a motorcycle gas tank or something, you know, you probably want to have something that moves with the contour. But a flat panel like this, use a flat, hard block. That's all there is to it. So, yeah, no problem. Well, I appreciate the questions and jumping in. I know it's not you're keeping me company, because that's kind of why I turned this thing on. It's like, well, you know, I think people would want to see some of the progress, and otherwise it's a whole lot of repetitive motion. It's good to switch off hands. This is your chance to become ambidextrous, so you don't hurt your hand. The playfield is yellowed. If the playfield yellowed, is it usually in the clear or the paint underneath? Oh, okay, that's a good question. So the answer is, it depends what it's cleared with. So there are certain clears that will yellow over time, and especially like, you know, I'm sure you've seen like polyurethanes and stuff. They say like non-yellowing and things like that. So, but then there's also paint fade. So for example, I've had this on several older games that I've restored, especially like from the 80s and stuff. And one way to really make an older game pop, like you can touch up all the art and everything on the playfield, but a lot of times what people tend to forget is underneath the plastics. I mean, making this bright white really makes a playfield pop. And you get better light reflection when the plastics cover it and you have all your GI and everything. It looks so much better to have that done. But in that case, what I typically end up doing, I think the color just fades and yellows over time, especially with those old incandescent bulbs that just sat in a bar forever and cooked it, and So what I end up doing, so if this is an older playfield, I would use frisket paper and mask around this whole area, all the white. And I just use a razor blade and cut out all this. And then I'd have an airbrush where I'd airbrush all the white. And then that would make it super clean again. So on another video, I'll go over color matching and touch-ups. I think that's another topic that people really like, where it's something I taught myself over the years, and I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert. It's really a whole lot of trial and error to get that color just right. But it is fun, and once you get it right, it's really not that bad. So for example, like the playfield only has so many colors. I think it's like 5 or 7, and sometimes they're a combination of a couple of them. So it can be difficult. But for example, once you match like this yellow, that yellow is going to be the same yellow here and here and here. You know, where it can become difficult is when you have 2 layers on top of each other, and it's a transparent ink. So then it becomes a different color. That's how they accomplish that. And then you get some other complexities with gradient fill. Ugh, that is a huge pain in the ass. Essentially, it means like they're taking 2 colors and they're doing dots, and see if there's some on this in the planet. So you got smaller dots here, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger towards the bottom in the blue. And so if this is worn, it can be a huge pain in the butt to like if it's just a few spots, you can like, you know, try to get the density of the dot just right. But poor dog, what's up? Yeah, sanding. But yeah, gradient fill is not fun. And honestly, if I was say this whole planet was blown out here, it would be far easier for me to do like to maybe mask off these like stripes, and then I would just do like a fade effect. Like I would spray it heavier on this end, and then I'd fade it out. So I'd tape off those lines and cut them out, and then I'd spray heavy here and then lighter over here, and then it would still give you that same effect. So it just depends on how much is used throughout the playfield. But I had that same thing on Alien Star with those ships. There's what is it, four ships. And the tail tail exhaust is a gradient fill. Oh my god. I at first I tried touching up the gradient, but there was just way too much of it for it to look nice. So I ended up just airbrushing it. So that was like a fade from orange to yellow, kind of a flame thing. So and I am, I don't think I said this earlier, I am using 1000 grit on this. I mean, now that I'm doing this, I probably will end up re-clearing this. So I think I'm going to end up taking off quite a bit of clear from all the high spots. So this will be a bit of a project. It's okay. I think Mark really wanted me to clear it anyway. Yeah. It's feeling gypped if I just wet sand it and buff it. Yes, Board Dog, this is a CPR reproduction. So, this is one of those where I don't see any like gold, silver, bronze or anything on it, but I can see in the printing that it's digitally printed. So it's, this is a newer one. And I guess my opinion on the digitally printed stuff is, I think it's good business-wise for them, but as far as like restorers go, I don't like it as much, because if you really get down and look at it, so for example, if there was a wear spot in this blue, when you really get down and look at it under a microscope, it's a bunch of little dots, and paint is not. So you're essentially going to be painting that entire spot to make it look right. So basically all the new playfields today are direct print like that. But then again, there's a lot better clear coat used today than there was in the past when they did screen printed stuff. So, well, I guess that would be a matter of opinion. If your clear coat is better. Depends who you're buying from, I guess. More skateball playfields. Oh yeah, I did. My skateball has a CPR in it. Looks super nice. I got a screen printed one. I think it was right before they started doing that transition, which is good because they use a lot of transparent inks on skateball, and so there's some cool effects that they did with the art, and it actually, like the characters in it, like the people on the skateboard, they're like their skin tone is the wood, which is neat, and then they had some like transparent purple and screens and stuff, so really cool artwork. Honestly, I think Bally's art was just amazing in that time frame. One of my favorites, I think, is Xenon. I've done a Xenon playfield like 3 or 4 times now, and I just that art is so wacky. I love just all the little details and it's just kind of a trippy playfield. Plus, boobs and butts on it. My favorite. Space boobs. Oh, I have a... Do I have a... Yeah, I think I have a Xenon playfield hanging up on my ceiling in the game room here. Put some like LEDs behind it that like flash different sequences and stuff. So, oh yeah, Flash Gordon. Yep, that was one of my first restorations. I actually did. So there was a time period when CPR did a Flash Gordon. Then they like hated doing it because it was the two-part playfield, and they said, "Oh, we'll never do that again, never." Like they all sold out, and so I was like, "Well, shit." So I had a blown out one that it was just not worth, going through and touching up. And this is early on in my restoration playfield days, so I ended up doing an overlay, and I did one for me and one for a friend, and it's a good learning experience. I've since done several overlays. I think 3 xenons, two or three flash Gordons. What was the other one I did? I thought I did one other overlay. I mean, so I guess I'll say on this, overlays are, the quality is only as good as who printed it. And you know, people talk about like, oh, they don't stick well and this and that. It's like, well, it's all about prep. You gotta prep that playfield. Give it a nice etch to it. Otherwise, it's not gonna stick, just like anything else. Oh, Von Koff, I covered my butt on the virtual Xenon clip art of. Oh, nice. Burger buns. Outline pinball. So Medusa, just you want a Medusa in general, or you need a playfield? So I do have a Medusa in the back corner, which also has a CPR playfield in it. But installed it, and it has a similar issue to, or basically the exact same issue as this, where it developed planking over time. And honestly, in hindsight, I probably should have re-cleared it before installing the thing. I mean, it's fine. That, you know, it's gonna play just fine, but it just doesn't look quite as nice as it could be. So the game in general, yeah, it's cool. I need to get motivated, and there's just some. So the Medusa I have is all populated, but it's one of those where I should have fixed all of the electrical, mechanical issues prior to doing a swap. That's always a good idea. So if you're planning to do a full restoration on something, it's probably good to make sure it plays perfect before you start tearing into it. Did that once on a Sea Witch I restored. It was not necessarily a basket case, but it was bad. I mean, picked it up or traded for Sea Witch, and cabinet wasn't great. Playfield was pretty well beat, and so basically I was like, I mean, it's not super complicated of a game. So I ended up I've never played the game before. And so I take it to the shop, and like I know what it is, I know what it's worth. And so I was like, well, probably makes sense to restore this thing. I mean, I think I played it at a show a couple of times, and you know, it's a pretty cool game, so I knew it wasn't that much of a risk to go ahead and restore it. And honestly, I'm glad I did, because I remember John Greatwich was you know, talking about or getting interested lists about Sea Witch, and just like on and on and on and on. I was like, I can touch this thing up and clear it faster than you can get that, you know, production going. I did the same thing with Fathom, and I'm glad that I did, because if I would have waited, like, I remember when those Fathoms came out, like the blue wasn't right. It was brighter than it should have been, and I was like, well, my playfield wasn't even that bad. Just, you know, touched up all the inserts and a few wear spots. I was off and going. And I had it done before they released the Fathom playfield. So, and I didn't have to that's the other thing. Just if you can touch up and clear your own playfield, you don't have to take the shit off the bottom. That's a huge advantage. You know, if you don't want to do it yourself, you can go to a local playfield restorer, and like for me, that would be Neo. Do you have a site where you have pins for sale plus senior and March? Oh, no, I don't have a site. I'm, you know, collector. Yeah, and I've been on Mark's Basement a couple times. Oh, well, sorry, Board Dog. I have to figure out how the heck I'll try to repeat the questions. So, I guess it gives me a little icon, telling me which one is coming from which. So Outlane Pinball is just asking if I had a website where I have stuff for sale, and that he's seen me in Mark's Basement Arcade. And no, I don't. I mean, really, it's just my YouTube page and Twitch. I don't have a business. I don't do this stuff for hire. I tried it at one point for playfield restoration, but I got burnt once with a guy for Bride of Pinbot. Did some of my best work ever on this thing, and it was a player condition, like pretty bad player condition to start with, you know. And, if you've ever done any touch-up work, matching gray is a nightmare, and there's a lot of it on Bride of Pinbot. So anyway, there's also a known issue with that particular game, or System 11-ish era, where they can have what's called insert bloom, meaning that you can get like little bubbles around the inserts because of the reaction between the plastic that they put in the inserts and the clear coat. It happens sometimes or not, but anyway, a lot of the known playfield restorers, they had it directly on their website. We don't even want to touch these because of that issue. And so, you know, I was naive and I did it. It was like, well, it looked great, you know, when it's all lit up. So, but anyway, so Board Dog, no, you don't need to. You're not missing a whole lot of chatter on either end, so I wouldn't worry about it. I think I need to figure out. I think there's like a plug-in or something that I can get where I can put the chat screen up on the main screen, and that way you can see both. I'll have to look. I'm pretty sure. So I also stream on Buffalo Pinball on Fridays at 8 Central. And so I'll have to ask Kevin if Kevin's the one that kind of runs it. If he's got like or knows of a plug-in that I could use to put that chat window up. I can see where that'd be useful. Right now I just do Twitch and YouTube. I might, if I do the paid subscription, I could add Facebook too, but I don't know. Maybe. Well, it certainly has taken a while. Voncraft. Streamlabs, OBS is the easiest, but there are a few ways to do it as a browser source. Oh yeah, okay, sure. I think I've done that, where essentially I could just take the Restream browser, because that's going to post them both, and then that would probably work. Yeah, I'll play around with that later. These freaking high inserts are gonna take forever to knock down. I do have a faster way of doing it, slightly faster, with a power sander, but again, the power sander, it has a foam, Velcro piece to it, and so it's not gonna knock it down as well as this block. So if there was a hard backing for that, it would probably work better. But then again, you don't want to go too crazy on these. Like, I feel like there's tons of clear on here, so I don't feel worried that I'm going to burn through. And it's nice to see, once you know where your high spots are, as soon as you get them, you can kind of focus on the inserts. And once I get those flat and it starts spreading out, that sanding area and all the shiny around it goes away, then I know that I've reached more level at that point. Power sanding clear coat is a great way to teach your kids new cuss words. Yes. Well, so I will say I have I've used it before to because I knew that I already had things flat. I have like a 1500 and 2000 grit of basically this style without it doesn't have the holes in it, but it's just a flat Velcro pad, and it certainly does make quick work of doing the whole playfield. So but yeah, I probably wouldn't recommend, especially if you were doing like an older game and you were doing touch-ups and then you just did a first coat of clear. That's another thing. Do not go crazy with your wet sanding after your first or even second coat of clear, because really you're building up. Because for example, if say that this whole area was a touch-up area and this was all bare wood before, that is a crater, right? And you're trying to fill that in first. So if you you're starting from scratch, like as far as, you know, building up that spot. And if you sand it, you're going to burn through pretty quick, and then you're going to start cutting into your color. And I think Board Dog was watching when I was doing when I was doing those alien stars, because I had those that gradient fill that I was talking about before that I airbrushed. There was lots of F-bombs when I burnt through that. So that was not fun. Yep. Oh. And mask everything off again and break out the airbrush, match the colors. Ugh. You know, another good thing, when you go to populate these things too, because a lot of times clear can get in the holes. Just make sure you get a good set of drill bits, pre-drill out those holes. Otherwise, if you try to drive in a screw and it's just kind of widening out that hole, it's gonna crack the clear around it, and you will also cry a little bit if that happens. But pre-drill your holes. You'll learn. I think I had somebody ask before, like, what do you do for I had like a little chip or something on my playfield, like around a post or something like that. Like, well, if the artwork, well, even if the artwork is chipped off, you can honestly take the post and stuff off that area. You can touch up the spot where it chipped off, and then honestly, you can. I would do, you know, like a water-based version. You can. It doesn't hurt to have a can of this sitting around. Just make sure that you seal this thing up good when you're done using it, because if you you know, if you leave this open to open air, it's gonna harden up. So oh, and also you don't want to get any of the product on the inside lip. When I go to clear coat, I'll talk about that stuff. If you get clear on the inside lip of the can, and then you go and seal it like you would, you know, regular household paint, that thing is going to weld to the can, and you're probably not going to be able to get it open. So, and I think they even say this on their website. Like, you take some like saran wrap or you know, plastic bag or something, and you put it in there, and then close the lid, and that'll make it so you can get the dang thing off of there again. I also found they sell these things at the paint store, and they work really well. This is called what is it called? Sure something. Oh, fits all can spout. So you can like kind of bend this around, and you put it on the lip of the can, so it kind of, and then the paint doesn't get inside there, and then you can you know, have a more controlled pour. It's kind of nice. Move you over a little bit. I'm gonna do up here. There we go. truck had to have a freaking wide body game. Just that much more to sand. Oh. You know, another one that I did, I really liked it, and it turned out really nice. Was a future spa. I guess the reason I bring that one up is, I mean, I like the colors, and it was kind of a pain in the ass to touch up, but it has a really unique look around the inserts, where they kind of were going for this like metal effect. So it was like blue and white and kind of made it look like chrome, I guess, or simulated that. So it was kind of cool. Yeah, that's a pretty looking game when it's nice and shiny. Rattle. I still have a few playfields to kind of go through and do swaps on someday. I have a catacomb. It's a CPR. I haven't looked at it since I got it, so I might have to do the same thing. What's the other one I had? Oh, you know, I do have a Barracora in the project pile, which I could get a playfield for, but when I was looking at it, it didn't look like the playfield was super bad. So I was thinking maybe just touch up what's there and call it good. I feel like, you know, you're gonna spend, what is it, 800 bucks? I don't know what they are going for now. 800 or 900 bucks last time I looked. It's quite a bit to spend, and it's a lot of work to swap it over. So and if you have to do all this, that's not super fun. You gotta pay, or if you don't want to do it, you gotta pay somebody to do it. Then that's another, what? I think Neo was saying like $450 or something like that. Ugh. Yep. I think Ron Kruzman does stuff like this. He'll re-clear new playfields. I mean, they look nice when they're done, but I mean, you got 800 bucks for a new one, then another, probably with shipping and all that stuff, another 500 bucks. That's a pretty expensive playfield when it's all said and done. Then you got all the labor on top of that to swap it over. So, well, there's one other guy that streams a lot that does playfield restorations. Chuck Webster. Made friends with him. He does a bunch of early solid states. He's a good guy. The last one I saw, he did like a Dolly Parton. Ugh. If you hear squeaky noise when you're sanding, that means you got a little bit of like a speck of dirt under there. Stop. Wipe it off. Rinse off your sanding block. Don't want to sand in deep scratches, because then you're going to be doing even more sanding or recoating or a lot more buffing to try to get that scratch out. Kind of an interesting cutout for the trough. I think this is a 3-ball multi-ball game. Kind of looks like a catapult cutout. It's getting there. Ugh. Still a ways to go. So I think at this point, I kind of went through and did gone all the way around. So now I think what I need to do is kind of focus in on the high spot inserts, kind of bring those down and see if I can get those, get that to flatten out more. So I really shouldn't be focusing on the planking so much. More getting the flat spots down. So I like to kind of work in a circle. So I guess where's my first inserts are over here. Oop, should back my camera up so you can see. That would be good. There. Shouldn't be too much more. It's coming along. Alright. I should probably move to another side of the sandpaper. Get another flat piece. Yeah, so that's almost flat right there. A little bit more. Ooh, that's nice. Let me get in closer here so you can see. Focus. Focus. Yeah, right about that focused. Yeah, okay, so it's dull, but that's nice and flat. Oh yeah. Okay. Making headway. There we go. Where am I at? These guys right here. Let's just show in the light reflection here. Maybe? There we go. You can see the shiny versus not shiny. So that's the inserts are the not shiny. So I'm trying to get it all not shiny. As soon as I have that, it will be flat. Still. Oh yeah. Still in focus here. I hope. There we go. That's about as focused as I can get. A little bit more. get it? Oh yeah. A little bit more right there. And then I'll have it. So when and if you send out the playfield to get restored, I mean, this is just one piece of it. You really are paying for a ton of labor. There's not, I would say the clear's expensive, but it's not that expensive per the quantity that you actually use. So I think really it's, your cost is going to go into how much touch-up is involved. That takes quite a bit of time, and then the whole clearing, sanding, clearing process just takes a ton of time. So I suppose you just always have to ask yourself, is this something that I would rather just throw some money at and let somebody do it, or I want to try it myself and learn? And I would say I enjoy it. Not to the point where I want to do it full time for a living or whatever, but I like doing it. Just you end up surprising yourself that it can look nice. And I feel like especially if you're going to take an older game that if you've never done like touch up or clear work, honestly all I use for paints is just stuff that I can get at the craft store, acrylic paint. That's it. I probably don't want to get the bottom barrel or apple barrel stuff, because that's pretty cheap as far as like pigments and stuff. Not to say that I don't have some in my paint cart, but like you can get into it for pretty dang cheap. So, and one thing that I did to learn is I just took an old wall hanger playfield. I got it from a friend, and I think it was my very first playfield was a Stern Memory Lane. That was my very first playfield that I restored, and it's a good one to start on because EMs, a lot of it is solid colors, not a whole lot there, but you're going to have wear and tear, marks and things like that, fading, stuff like that. But what it's going to teach you is how to match those colors for the wear spots, typically like kick out holes, stuff like that, insert wear. It's going to teach you all of those things. And then also learning from some of your mistakes too. So one thing that I learned the hard way as I went along is making sure that you check all of your inserts, and in many cases pop them out and re-glue them, because if you don't, say that you had a loose insert, what can happen is that the insert might not it might not be loose to the point that it can pop out, but if you put your finger underneath it and it can flex, that's bad. Because if you ignore that and then you go and you do all your touch-ups and everything and then you clear it, that insert is still going to flex. And what's going to happen is it's going to crack around that insert, and it's going to be more of a problem later. So you might as well just take the time, pop those inserts out, and re-glue them. So that's a good tip for that. Also, like, you know, practicing with your paintbrush, so you know, you getting those fine lines, and you know, trying to get consistency around your inserts, so like all your key lines look the same, and so there's a lot of different skills that you can use when it comes to that. Another trick that I use is you know, they talk about like brush marks, right? Like, well, I don't just squirt paint out of the bottle and just like start brushing it on. That's not how that works. If you want to get the thing smooth, you gotta thin it out. It's like anything else. Like you know, they don't take you know, car paint straight from the can and just start slopping it on your car. They thin it out. They put it in a, you know, a spray gun and spray it on there so it's all the same, you know, same level. So you can get that to an extent on your, you know, with your brush, but thin it out so it's like water thin almost. And then say you had a big area, like say I was going to paint all this purple, right? So I would just, or the white here, and I've done this several times. You know, instead of airbrushing it, I'll just thin out my paint, and I'll just paint the whole thing just all by hand. And I'll just do several coats, and then it'll be, you know, nice and smooth. It doesn't look like I did that by hand, or and once you clear coated it, it doesn't look like you painted it with a brush. So, but if I was to just take it right from the bottle, like, yeah, the paint would be thicker and it would cover you know, more densely, but now you're going to have brush strokes, and it'll look like shit. So take your time, thin out the paint, do it right. Coming along. How are you doing in chat over there? I want to make sure it's still working. You still with me, or are you all falling asleep? getting there. I think this is pretty well flat. Might need to do. I think what I'll do is I'll get them pretty well there, and then I'll go probably for another pass. Make sure that it's good. You know, another thing that I could use for this is like some background music. It's like I've seen other streamers have that before, like a jukebox thing. That would be kind of nice. But then I don't want to get in trouble, you know, with the whatever it is, the Run DMC. You know, like hit me with some kind of piracy something or other. But I know that there's like some sort of jukebox thing that some streamers use. That could be fun. You can listen to some tunes. What are you saying? Ooh, that's turning out nice. Yes. Keep going. More to the blast off. There we go. Much gooder. Well, this whole line here, getting closer, still have these high spots. So I think this one is actually, no, never mind. Keep going. So I kind of have like high spot here, and then the blast off, and then it's like anytime you're on an edge of like a light socket or any cut in the playfield, it tends to kind of what do you call it, dam or something around that spot, and so that ends up being like a high spot as well. So Mark's sure gonna have a super nice Flight 2000 when it's all said and done. There's I do have one of these. There's also a standard body version that I have. It's called Gammatron. It was made by Pinstar. Kind of just after Stern Electronics was defunct. They started making these kits. And it's actually a Steve Kirk design. Basically the whole concept was you could take your old blown out Stern or Valley game and pop this new playfield in there, and you got a whole new game to, you know, make some money on location. So I'm sure that happened a lot. I bet you there's tons of games that they just got blown out, and you know, people didn't play them no more. And well, if you're an operator, what do? You either sell it or it just kind of sits broken in a dark corner of a bar. Maybe it takes money, I don't know. But that concept really never took off. Probably because it wasn't really a plug and play per se. There was a lot more hassle to it, we'll say, to make it work. So the Gammatron that I have, it was a Modhari at one point in its life, and converting from Bally to Stern, or to this Pinstar, was even more of a pain in the ass. And you had to have this special board and hack all these wires and, you know, tape off score displays, and just it wasn't as universal as, you know, they were hoping for. But then again, I think they're trying to capitalize on, you know, I mean, you look at the sales numbers of Stern Electronics versus Bally, and I mean, it's obvious that Bally sold more games, and so there's just more of them out there to use, and so it kind of makes sense that they would do that. But so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna de-hack my Gammatron and basically put Flight 2000, put Stern stuff in it. So I'm going to take out the Bally boards, the Pinstar board, and put in all Stern stuff, and basically all it is it's Flight 2000 without the speech. And so if I can just de-hack all that, it'll work. Well, technically it works, but I'd like it to be nicer. That's all. My chat's still working. You all alive out there? Let me see here. Come on. think so. Am I missing anything? No? Well, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. We don't even have to talk about playfield stuff if you don't want to. Today I had a pretty productive day. Well, kind of. It was squishing bugs. My day job is working for American Pinball, and so I help people fix their games. But today is kind of going through and squishing bugs for Legends of Valhalla. So that was good. Got some stuff worked out. Getting close to the next code release. So that's good. Like all the streaming that I did last couple weeks has really helped out quite a bit in that regard. It's nice to be able to have that video reference and being able to go back and look at what was the sequence of events for like a certain situation, and then kind of analyze what's going on in the code too. So I have trouble, it was the human brain can only really remember like 3 things at once or something like that. And so when there's like a sequence of events, like I shot the ball over here and it did that and it did this, and then then this thing was unexpected that happened, and like I don't remember all that stuff. I just, the ball didn't shoot out when I expected it to shoot out or something, So that's why it's good to have the video. Yesterday was a sad day with Barry Osler dying after he just signed on with American. I never met the guy, so I couldn't tell you anything about him, but or what happened. I guess he had some underlying health issues or something. I don't know. But I never did get to meet him. He certainly did make some cool games, so coincidentally, I don't know if it's like fitting with the day, I guess. So it's kind of a neat story how it all came about, but I had a game fall into my lap. My neighbor said, "Hey, my son has a pinball machine that he wants to get a value on it so he knows what it's worth. He's just gonna sell it." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So it happens to be Space Shuttle, and which you should know that it's a Barry Osler game, and so So I quoted him what, you know, I thought his game was worth, and you know, he's a little further away, so he was going to go to a local shop and have them, you know, basically sell it to them. So he wanted to make sure he was getting a good quote on it, I guess. And so I was like, well, you know, based on the condition, it should be right in this ballpark, you know, considering that the market value plus the condition and the, you know, knowing that the shop is going to have to put some work into it to fix it up and then resell it and make a profit on it. And so I was in a range of, I think I was in like within $200 of the quote. So that was good. But then I was like, well, you know, because it's his parents. It's like, well, I'd sweeten the deal if you were, you know, wanted to come and visit your parents. And so I just offered him a couple $100 over what the shop did. And he was like, well, let me see what dates I got. So he's coming next month with this space shuttle. So I'm getting a space shuttle. But yeah, we firmed up the deal yesterday. So that was cool. I've never owned a space shuttle. I think the game is Space Shuttle is basically like what? Big thing was multi-ball in the game. The lock went into the shuttle, went into the side. They're like 3 different locks or something. That was the thing. Not that there wasn't multi-ball games prior to that, but trying to remember what else was the cool thing about that game. Everybody loved on it. And the big inserts in the middle that like it said things, spelled things out, space or something, which I know that was reused again. What was that one? Class of 1812. I have one of those where like it has a big kind of grid in the middle, and it will like spell different things. That was kind of cool. So stinks that we're not going to get to see some of his work. I know he did some stuff at Deep Root, and I think he had things designed. I have no idea what's going to happen to those designs. I know Dennis Nordman had like 2 or 3 designs there, and John Norris had designs there. They might not ever see the light of day, which that stinks. Just depends on what's going to happen with all those like the assets. Are they going to sell them off, or what they're going to do? I have no idea. You'd think they'd want to, you know, try to recoup some of the money. don't know. You know, after doing stuff like this, it makes you have a little bit more respect for the auto body professionals. They have to wet sand a bunch of stuff. I don't know. I think it all comes down to prep and how well their painter is. If you got a good painter, you shouldn't need to do a whole lot of wet sanding. But also you need a good paint booth. Making sure you don't get a bunch of dust and stuff like that in your paint. But when you're doing it at home, it becomes a necessity. So when I used to have a cross draft paint booth that I built. Me and a friend, I used to have a 4-car garage. It was like a 2 wide and 2 deep. That used to be my pinball shop, and well, part of it anyway. And so there was like a couple windows on the side of the garage, and so I just put some like box fans in the windows and built this. Me and a friend built this whole frame with just some 2x2s and some plastic, and we, put some filters in one end and then the fans in the other, and just had them blowing out outside, and then so it kind of suck air through from the garage to the outside, and so it was good. It's better than nothing. Still get some dust and dirt flying around. But that was fun. I used to do a lot of these. Ever since I moved, I haven't done as many playfield restorations. But with this new method, with just being able to roll around the clear, it certainly, now I don't need that. I don't need a paint booth. I can do it right here. I have my, it won't smell great for a while, but it's not nearly as toxic as automotive clear, and I can just coat it quick. Once I'm done, you want it to self-level anyway. Just get it done, leave the room, and check on it the next day, kind of thing. Uh-oh. Sounds like my wife is back home. So I better kill the stream here. She was at the dentist. Alright, well, I'll call it good for now. Work on it some more later. Ugh. Alright, well, I'm going to cut it there. Thanks for hanging out, chatting. I'll check back in when I get a little bit closer here and show you what it looks like. So, alright, see you later.